And we are recording and live and so fancy. Here we go. Okay, so we are going to do these fireside chats probably more often. We kind of talked about that a little bit because we are rolling. North Dakota legislation is in full swing. If you haven't seen our main timeline page, you're going to want to check that out. We already have a call to action. And it is super simple. It takes less than 2 minutes. It is for you, if you're reading it as a past or present patient, but also for you to forward on to family, friends, neighbors, coworkers, everybody. And we want to thank Resolve for joining in with these efforts and giving us the capabilities to do that. And of course, as always, Fertility Within Reach and Resolve, both for helping us already. And I believe they're helping South Dakota as well with their efforts. So thank you. So we are going to start with North Dakota, an update because the legislation is a little different. Well, a lot of different, but same, helps infertility patients across both state lines. And so in North Dakota, we are working to advance in legislation that would provide insurance coverage for infertility care and fertility preservation for things such as cancer. And South Dakota is working to preserve and save surrogacy. We're going to hear all about that in just a moment. So we just kind of wanted, we are teaming up to make sure that we can reach as many of you as possible, get the word out there to as many people as possible, and just to keep you updated because things change rapidly. And South Dakota starts this week, is that correct, with their legislation session?
Correct.
And so be watching, watch both pages. We're going to share stuff, follow South Dakota Surrogacy page, and stay alert at this point because anything can go like this. So so infertility effects, new research shows 1 in 6, old research or current research, it's kind of in between, gray area, but let's just go with 1 in 8 or 1 in 6. And that's over 33,000 people in North Dakota and then 33,000 in South Dakota. And so this is not little, this is a lot of people. And as we all know, it's hard to open up when you have infertility. So we are using our voices to speak on behalf of and kind of help guide people who are going through it on what we need from them. As always, if you've ever been through infertility or surrogacy, we need your help. Past, we need you. And if you're currently going through it too, family friend, once again, I just can't state enough. I think that even if you're not currently going through it, your voice still matters. And if you are a friend or family member, coworker, neighbor, and you know them, please speak up on their behalf too. And we are having our very first advocacy day next Monday. Everlasting Hope is, and this is just a general event to raise awareness and to educate legislators on the reality of infertility and what the needs are, mostly to break that barrier to care of costs that we have. And so we've, of course, flipped it virtual. I had this nice vision to be in the Memorial Hall, but that'll be next year, I hope. But we have finalized the schedule and we are having Resolve and Fertility Within Reach join us. So they're going to be joining us for speaking. We're going to hear from some legislators, I hope, some patients. It's going to be an on and off all day event, virtual. We really want to help patients work on what it looks like to share your story, how to share your story, and we'll get to that at the end of this too. But just to kind of walk you through it, because it can be scary and emotional and confusing and all of the things. So just know that all three of us especially are here to help with that. So let us know if that's something you're interested in. Let us know any questions as you're going through it. Let's jump into you guys. We are, like I said, North Dakota is this week. Our bill could be heard as early as Friday. I'm thinking Friday. So we need people to do our call to action, which we've posted on our main timeline. We've put in some in our advocacy group. So Everlasting Hope has a North Dakota, South Dakota advocacy group for anyone that wants to help with our efforts. So you can join that. And we'll put call to actions on all pages, but you'll kind of get the behind the scenes on that page too. So, and what can we do? Let's tell us more. Where are you guys at in South Dakota? What are things looking like?
Before we get into South Dakota, I want to say that infertility, as you stated, is such a big part of everyone's life. Either you or your neighbor, your sister, your coworker has or is currently struggling with infertility issues. It impacts so many people, and people go through this with thinking that they are alone, and they are not. So I just want to say, I think it's absolutely amazing that we are standing up and we are working collaboratively to try to create a great change to help provide more resources and support for people going through infertility.
Yes. And I feel like this statistic is so important. 61% of women do not share with friends and family that they are going through it. Not like coworkers, social gatherings, friends and family, 61%. So we're here to help, I think, validate what these couples, and I said today, I also did a new segment, if you guys didn't see, on North Dakota Today out of Fargo. Infertility is 1/3 male, 1/3 female, 1/3 unexplained. So it's not just women that are the cause. It takes two to tango and make a baby. So we can't forget the other half. That is sometimes also the reason why we go through infertility. And so just to help kind of break that too and just raise awareness, I think honestly, I don't know about you guys, but I interact with people that are just think it's the woman a lot, or we put it on ourselves as women that it's us all the time. And so just to, like I said, provide validation, you're not alone when going through this.
You're not alone. And the more that I've spoken up about my infertility, the more people are coming to me and saying that they've had a similar story, or they want to share their story, or they're asking for advice. When I went through all of my infertility issues, I kept almost everything to myself, not even wanting to tell my husband, because if you feel like a failure, you felt like you should be able to do this. Your body was created so you can have a child and go through the pregnancy. So just not being able to speak up, I completely understand. It wasn't until I became so frustrated with everything and people asking me, when are you going to have a child? And why is this not working? Have you tried this? Have you tried that? That I finally just cracked. And I just let it all out.
Same. I know you wouldn't know. We were not talking. You and I both, we've shared about this. Like we were silent going through this alone. And now look at us. Like, oh.
I finally I broke down my barriers and I just let the world know what's going on. Still kept a few things private at that time, but the more that I've gone through and the more that I've talked to people, the more that I've opened up, and it really has helped me heal, helped me move forward. And I, through this, have created so many great friendships and relationships. I've also been able to share my knowledge with many, many women, and be able to help them on their journeys. So it's been wonderful. It takes people speaking up to be able to get the resources that we need and to be able to make change that really is going to impact infertility in the state.
Yes, yes, yes. I just can't I love when people come forward to share. I want them to like eventually get to the point where it's healing to share, because it is. And I don't know about you guys, but testifying was a whole nother healing, empowering level. Like I cried at the end and it was just, I don't know. It was like another shell that I didn't know was there was cracked. So I get so excited to see who's going to come forward for both states and testify as patients, past or present, once again too.
And this, having this type of legislation would have been immensely beneficial for me, because it is costly going through infertility and going through those treatments. Anything for the reproductive clinic, that is considered elective procedures, so really nothing is covered. A little bit of my office visits were covered, and when you're talking about appointments every 3 to 10 days over 4 years, almost 5 years, that adds up. So it definitely was a costly endeavor, and especially for me to find out test after test after test that there's nothing wrong. Mm-hmm. That we just kept trying to figure out why I'm having all these issues, which of course then, since there's no reason, which led me to surrogacy. So, and that's why. So it would have been great to have had that insurance assisting, and I'm so proud that you are going forward and trying to make that change.
Yes. And I gotta testimony from somebody just recently who stated they've spent 150,000. And I think people need to realize that's more of the reality that people are closer to spending, is that 80 to over 100,000 a lot of times, especially with surrogacy.
I've actually spent more than that.
I was going to say, you've probably jumped that line. They were just bumping that line moving into surrogacy. So I was like, oh,
that's where I was at before I even encountered going through surrogacy.
yep. And it's just, and with me, I'm like, okay, I'm a nurse practitioner. I see what's covered. Like everything that's a disease is covered except my disease. My disease was not covered. And the one time I needed my insurance, it wasn't there for me. And so that's what really drove me to push forward with this.
Well, it's not even for me, the diseases that are covered. It's anything else that a person can do to their body, whether they smoke and need to have a lung transplant, or they drink or do different things, that is covered by insurance. But at the same time too, it is deemed as elective for us to determine what is wrong with our body, that we cannot get pregnant or we cannot carry a child to term.
Yep.
And actually it'd be very beneficial to know what some of these medical reasons are, because actually it'd be cheaper for healthcare systems to diagnose versus me going through multiple DNCs or DNEs and multiple procedures, or even having another person with cystic fibrosis and having a child from there, being able to diagnose it and anything else. So I commend you for all of your efforts.
Yeah, thank you. You've nailed it. It's like, keep going. Yes, 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 exactly. There is, let's just sum it up, that there is actual research and data to support cost savings of adding infertility care to insurance. And it is on that back end of, like you're saying right there, there is proof to that statement. So we'd be happy to show anybody.
So like I said, I went through the ringer going through my testing, and I was told that there is absolutely nothing wrong with myself or my husband, that we are perfectly healthy, which in any other scenario, you are ecstatic to hear. I mean, who doesn't love going to the doctor and hearing that you are perfectly healthy? Everyone, except for when you are struggling with infertility. Because with infertility, you want to know what's wrong, and you want to have a reason for it, and you want to have an answer and figuring out how you can move forward. And I didn't have that. Years and years of testing, years and years of loss. And that's why I chose surrogacy, was really to help me get a child, because I didn't have other options. My other options, of course, were adoption, foster to adopt, or going my life without a child. And I knew in my heart that I needed to, my world did not seem complete without having a child. And even any parent will say, man, you have those moments, you're like, oh, why did I do this? Oh my gosh, I love him so much. I cannot imagine my world without him. He truly is amazing. I am forever grateful for my surrogate. She is an amazing woman, as who are all of these women who are surrogates that truly do give their time and their body and so much of their life to be able to help us grow these families.
Yep, absolutely. So tell us, you have some, you're, once again, we'll say South Dakota, North Dakota, and two different like stages and what we're doing. So your efforts are focused on, you need to raise money for lobbyists. That is just the level of your legislation that you're going into. So what are a couple, do you have some fundraisers going on, right?
Correct. So North Dakota, you guys are ahead of us. About 10 years ago, you guys created your laws for surrogacy. So we are now just kind of starting. So as we said, last session, there was an attempt to significantly restrict surrogacy, which would have restricted contracts. And in order to have a surrogacy, you need to have a contract. So that would have essentially banned surrogacy. So because of that, we worked tirelessly. We defeated the bill last year, but we know that in order to protect surrogacy, we need to have legislation that will provide the structure and the securities that we need for this process, similar to what North Dakota has, really putting it into law. Who's a surrogate, who qualifies to be a surrogate, who qualifies to be an attendant parent, what's required of the contract, and having that in law. We had a draft legislation that we were looking at moving forward this year. But talking to some stakeholders, we realized we need a little bit more time to make sure that all vested parties are on the same page. So that's what we're doing, is we are taking a step back. Instead of pushing through legislation that wouldn't be the best for surrogacy, we want to make sure that we work collaboratively with all stakeholders to really bring forward the best bill. So we're going to continue to work on that. So during the pandemic, we did create, our nonprofits. We've been fundraising, we've been educating, we've moved forward quite a bit. We just need a little bit more time to make this a great bill that we're going to bring forward next legislative session. So that's what we're doing right now, is we are still educating. We are calling every single legislator daily. We're emailing them. We are letting them know that surrogacy is so important, how it impacts many women throughout the state. So whether they are surrogate or whether they're an intended parent, truly, we need to make surrogacy still an option. As we've said, adoption is a wonderful option. So is fostering, foster to adopt, but surrogacy needs to be allowed. So we are working to ensure that a no ban, it goes through this year as well. We have very good rumor that there will be an attempt to fully ban surrogacy. So we are working this year. I know we don't want to see that coming, but at the same time too, we have very good rumors heard that it will be brought forward. So we are going to work tirelessly. We have hired 2 lobbyists. They're representing our Families from South Dakota Surrogacy organization, and they're going to be on the Capitol as much as they can. And our group is going to be there, continuing to lobby to try to educate people on surrogacy. There are so many people that have the wrong concept of what surrogacy is. When it was first came about in the 70s, that was traditional surrogacy, where a woman was having a child with her egg and giving it to somebody else. With technology changes and updates in laws, we actually evolved from a traditional surrogate to a gestational surrogate, where it is the parent's embryo that is put into the surrogate, and she carries it for that 9 months and then gives the child back to their parents. So she is not related. And so that's the change in that concept is really what's hindering some people as well. So getting up to date on what is current. So that's what we're doing right now, is really updating. And then we of course are fundraising, because it takes a lot to update people and to lobby and to just get all of our efforts done.
There was a question in the comments. Does the South Dakota surrogacy bill seem to have good support from the legislature?
Yes. So in all
wonderful meetings, tell all about. Yes, it is.
Yes. In all of our canvassing, we are getting the majority, probably about 75%, that are in favor of surrogacy laws. Obviously, there are still some people that are questioning surrogacy because they feel as though it goes against their religion, or that they have questions pertaining to what could be in the contract because they could disagree with that. But the overwhelming majority believe that surrogacy is beneficial, that there's great value in having it, and that they want to preserve it and protect it by instituting surrogacy laws that would provide those protections for the surrogate, the intended parent, and the child.
That is wonderful. I know there was, I believe it was a Republican legislator on, you guys host meetings. Tell us more about that. But there was a Republican legislator who said, once you see these babies, you know they're a gift from God.
They truly are. I know Elizabeth can speak to her wonderful gift just as much as I can speak to mine.
Yes. We've been very lucky to have some wonderful movement with our lawmakers, and really what it's taking is just sitting and visiting around a table or via Zoom, and just taking that moment to understand how this truly is impacting South Dakota families. And like Lisa was saying, overwhelmingly people want to see this thrive. They want to see the beauty that is Easton and Wren and Austin and so many of these other little beautiful babies that have come from surrogacy in South Dakota. They want to see that continue, but it's unknown. It's a vast subject, and unless you have faced infertility and surrogacy specifically, it's really hard to probably take it all in on just a surface type conversation or a quick MD search. that's not what's going to help you understand the reality of this. And so luckily we've had a lot of great support. But like Lisa was saying, we're going to just take a moment to pause and perfect this bill that our advocacy group is putting together and move forward in the 2022 legislative session. So with that, we're looking long term. We're of course looking to preserve surrogacy, and to get there, it's going to take time, and it's going to take people who have a voice and are willing to make that their main focus. And so currently we're saving money and putting money towards a lobbyist, but this is not just for this year. We're looking at next year and for as long as it takes to make this happen. And so should I take a moment to talk about fundraising now, or should we wait? Or okay, that sounds good. Well, I just have to say I am totally humbled by people who have not necessarily dealt with surrogacy in their life, but have lent a helping hand in some capacity, whether it's through their small business, their large business, whether it's just manpower, hours, or their voice. And so I'm thankful that we have these wonderful people in our life. The people in our advocacy group, we spread throughout the state. So I encourage you, if you're listening to this, think about who you might know in Pierre, in Rapid City, in Sioux Falls, even in Northeast South Dakota, the Aberdeen area. We're working on fundraisers all over the place. The few that I'm going to talk about right now are specific to Sioux Falls area. And also, if you can reach out to Lisa, myself, we will get you to the people that you need to get to if you're interested in participating in some of these fundraisers. So to highlight a couple coming up here in the Sioux Falls area, we've had Embody Massage in downtown Sioux Falls offer up a whole day of massage, 20-minute sessions. So if you would like to get a massage and some pampering this time of year, reach out to one of us and we can help you get connected with that wonderful fundraiser. Lisa herself has put together some Super Bowl boards. So we're really trying to touch all avenues of interest here. Massage to Super Bowl. We're thinking of things for everybody here.
Perfect.
Yes.
And make sure like when we're done too to put the links in the comments too for all of them, so everyone can check back in there.
Perfect. Wonderful. Aside from that, another wonderful woman in our advocacy group, she has a small business called Petals and Pines. So give her a like on Facebook. She's offered up 50% of the proceeds. If you have any interest in wreaths and home decor, she will be your gal. Around here in Britain, Northeast South Dakota, we have had a couple fundraisers, one being the t-shirt fundraiser that you've seen us share across social media. That closed on Sunday, but I will be talking to Hillary from HH Design to see where we stand going forward with that. And stay tuned because we want to get everyone's attention with our red surrogacy apparel. So once everyone starts receiving their orders, we're going to establish a day where we can share these images on social media, make a flood of red color, because when we were out in Pierre last year, they talked over and over again about how we looked like a united group because of the t-shirts, right? What do you do when you go shopping? You look for those t-shirts that can get you to where you need to go. So we're going to spread that around. Also up here in Britain, I'm looking into setting up some Zumba, but also our local VFW has offered up a pull tab fundraiser that starts today and until supplies last. So if you're around the Britain area or traveling through Britain and you want to step up to the VFW and dine in or take out, ask about the pull tab fundraiser. And all proceeds go to South Dakota Surrogacy. And stay tuned because we're going to do a cake and pie raffle there too. But looking ahead, as this is a marathon, this is not a sprint. We're looking at setting up a couple yoga classes, maybe some hot yoga, possibly a fertility 5K. And as always, we have our GoFundMe. If you would just like to donate directly, we can set that up in a link as well. So thank you to everybody who's already supported us. Thank you to anybody who is willing to help in any way. South Dakota families need you. So help us help South Dakota.
Awesome.
And right now, we have already raised in this short period of time, a third of what we need by the, to pay for our lobbyists and the other expenses that we have going on. So in a very short period of time, everyone has been so great in order to help us. So thank you for everything. I know it's a big ask and we really appreciate it. So thank you again. In addition to fundraising, what we need right now is still for your voice. Not only do we need your voice for North Dakota to move forward with the laws regarding infertility, we need your voice here in South Dakota as well. Please reach out to your legislators. Let them know that surrogacy is important. Let them know that we need to keep surrogacy in the state. There is going to be an attempt to ban surrogacy, and we cannot allow for that. So how we are going to accomplish that is by you reaching out to your legislators and letting them know that it needs to remain. We cannot have a bill going through that would ban or restrict the contracts. And that is what the bill will most likely attempt to do, is restrict our contracts. So we cannot have that. So please call, email your legislators. If you have the time, go to Peer and lobby. I don't want to encourage people traveling, but at the same time too, if you want to check out the Capitol, please let your legislators know that that you support surrogacy. And there's going to be Cracker Barrels and legislative copies. We encourage you to attend those. We'll be posting those when they arrive as well, so that way you can go there and show your support.
Perfect. And I know in North Dakota, right now, the ask is to get your written. If you're wanting to step forward, I will help prepare you for virtual / in-person. You can do in-person for some committees. It's just different. So just reach out to me if you're wanting to do in person. I will coach you through that and let you know all the details. But for now, we'd like everybody to have their stories, testimonies, even if it's a paragraph, 5 pages, whatever, just get them ready to hit send. And for those, we'll also have templates. So let's, if you actually, there's a perfect example today on our timeline of what a template will look like, where you simply go in, put your information in and hit send, and it's already written for you. So we'll have that going around too, and Resolve put that together, and they'll probably do the same for you guys in South Dakota too, would be my guess, Lisa, so people can watch for that too.
That's awesome.
Well, I don't see any more questions. Do you guys have anything else for this week's Fireside Edition? We can just make it a thing, I think.
Yes. As always, please reach out with any questions. I mean, it wasn't until last session that I personally got involved in the legislature, because it took something that was near and dear to my heart. So if this makes a person feel uncomfortable or you don't know where to begin, just reach out to any of us and anyone in our advocacy group, and just let me know your comfort level and how you'd like to get involved and how you'd like to show support. So as Tara was saying, we can help coach you through that, but let's join arms and let's preserve these wonderful things and help make a better tomorrow.
Absolutely. Well, thank you everybody for joining. You can leave, if you think of questions later, message us, any one of our organizations, or put them in the comments section, and we will make sure to get back to you guys.
Yes.
Thank you too.